Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Steph and I am a person who sews. Yes, that was a terrible introduction. If you know me, you know me. And I do kind of not do serious topics because I don't feel like I am nuanced enough or have the vernacular for it or the full understanding, right? I feel like I kind of live life in a little hazy bubble and I'm kind of happy there, you know. But I was trying to film a free pattern video because, you know, that is what I do, right? I love free patterns, I love talking about them, I love sharing them, all the stuff. So this is a shirt dress, a self-drafted dress. I would not make it again because the bows are really annoying, but I'd use normal straps. I've tried shirting again and failed. So this is my only shirt dress and I love it. It's fantastic. The fit is amazing, but again, the instructions are free and available online. And I noticed that some of the patterns I was recommending were not actually free anymore. So the fabric store, which we all know have always had a lot of free patterns, a lot of them now are paid for patterns. Sew Magazine, which I definitely recommended their patterns for, because as sewists, we don't always need the most in-depth instructions. We can sort of figure it out from lackluster instructions. And Sew Mag, now all their patterns are also behind a paywall, which is, I think you get £5 the first month and then a tenner after that. So this is not like an isolated thing. There has been a shift away from free patterns. So in my videos now, I always do recommend that you download them straight away. If anything has even piqued your interest, to download them straight away, because you don't know when they're going to be gone or paid for patterns. So why are sewing patterns disappearing, free sewing patterns disappearing? And I think the first real issue is cost. The sheer cost of making them, designing, grading, photography, videos as well. Now I am in the process of making my own sewing patterns for like bags, project bags. I'm an avid knitter and crocheter, and it is extraordinarily time consuming because I can come up with the idea, I can come up with the prototypes, but getting the instructions written, photographed and videoed and then marketed, that is a hell of a lot of work, and for not that much return, right? If any, really, if we're being honest, the return's not great. And because I want to offer a little bit extra, I want to be someone whose patterns are accessible to a wider range of people. A lot of companies now have realised that they can monetize patterns, and I don't think channels like mine have helped, because inadvertently we've been sending traffic their way, being, look at this free pattern, isn't this amazing? Go check them out. And the company's like, why are we giving this stuff away for free? We can charge for this. So with the likes of Sew Mag, the idea is if you want the PDF pattern instead of the printed pattern that you get with the magazines, you can go get it off our website. You can download it. It's yours then. You've paid for the magazine. So now that is beside the paywall. I don't know if you still purchase the magazine. Do you then have access to it? And I used to read my magazine on my iPad. Now, so then it was a digital copy. Do I still have access to these patterns? Because I was reading it through a third-party app, I wasn't reading directly through one of Sew Mag's, you know, I wasn't reading through one of their apps. So now, is that gone? Like, I can read a sewing magazine digitally, but now I don't have access to the pattern. What if I get the magazine from the library? Do I then just can't have access to my PDF sewing pattern because it's behind a paywall? So I do think these are all questions that are not really, I don't think I've seen getting asked or answered. There is also a decline in advertising revenue that they used to use as the free patterns. And I do think there is also a discussion to be had around why companies were offering so many free patterns. So like Mood Society offer a ton of free patterns. I think they have one every month. But the idea is when you're reading it, you're going to be buying the fabric that they recommend and that they sell. And it's the same with Fabric Store. A lot of their patterns were aimed at the fabric they sell. So you go, oh yeah, okay, And the idea is all in one place. I will buy my fabric from you, I got my pattern from you. But I do think that there is a quality reality check that's needed with these free patterns now being behind a paywall or being charged fabric store $10. That's quite a lot of money for a pattern that was free. And whatever reason they have, yet they may have declining revenues and they want to claw back some money. However way you frame it, I feel like it leaves a bad taste, right? And not just because of my awful cup of coffee. A lot of these patterns have limited size ranges, and even if they do include a more inclusive size range, I don't necessarily always think that they are graded well enough at the smaller and larger sizes. I don't think they just grade. They don't use different body shapes, different models. So I think then that gives way too many fit issues and then puts people off. Because you may try a free pattern to see, maybe begin and go, oh, actually, and step out of the space. We want more people to sew, not less. And then it comes to instructions. With a free pattern, your expectations are already set quite low, right? Because it's free. So with Sew Mag, you can see from the instructions here, for me, that is the most inaccessible way to have instructions. It's a whole lot of block of text. And I really struggle with that, right? Really struggle. I usually need stuff broken up. When I studied, I was a huge fan of highlighters, of deconstructing all my notes, because just huge blocks of text, I end up skimming and I miss a lot then, and I wonder why stuff doesn't work. So I don't think you're getting anything extra. Now these free patterns are behind paywalls. You're not getting better grading. You're not getting more size inclusivity. You're not getting better written instructions. You're not getting sew along tutorials, which I think really nowadays, if you don't give me a YouTube tutorial to go with my pattern, you know, I kind of will go somewhere else and find something similar for someone who has done that extra work. And I'll happily hand over my money being like, you have done the work. You've made my life easier. You've made sewing this less of a hassle. I'm not going to have a little mentee bee halfway through going, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so thick. You know, maybe we are expecting too much. Maybe we are out asking too much. But expectations do get set. So these free patterns were good, you know, they're not always the best polished products. Free doesn't always mean great, but it did mean a level of accessibility that I think is slowly being taken away. So what impact do we think this is having on the sewing community? I think the first off is we've got a loss of patterns for entry level, for beginners, for people just entering. So there's that loss. And I think when you first start to sew, it's so amazing. There's so many free patterns out there. This is such an amazing community. Look at what is available, and it makes you feel welcomed and excited. That excitement of free patterns is amazing, right? I do think that will lead to less experimentation when you do get a little bit more experienced. So I made the peppermint wide strap maxi dress recently, and I did follow the instructions. There is a video for parts of it, and other people have made videos, but I was more inclined to have a go and see what can I do to make this pattern a bit more my own. So I didn't go mental, right? I added on a couple of loops and a tie, but I think you're more inclined with a free pattern to have more of an experimentation. I think there is now a higher push for indie patterns to make sure they do have freebies to offer. It's for indie pattern companies. I do think this is a brilliant marketing tool. I'm not saying you have to have millions, one or two. So Sew Over It has one or two patterns, and it's enough then for you to dip your toe into that style for that company. Well, is that company a good fit for me? So Friday Pattern Company offer the sporty shorts, and it's a pattern I've made a ton of times. And then I now am a semi-regular purchaser of her patterns. And again, it also widens the gap of affordability. again, the haves and haves not. But are you entitled to the haves? Possibly not. Because you can learn how to self-draft yourself. There's a lot of people selling courses for this sort of stuff. There's a lot of free content on YouTube. And again, monetized channels get ad revenue. So that's a way for them to earn money as well. You could say there's a silver lining because the free patterns that are available, I think possibly there's a lot more work that's gone into them, especially for indie companies, because they've made it and it's part of their regular lines, their regular processes. So it's the same level of effort that's gone into their free marketing tool pattern that has gone into the rest of their patterns. So for that aspect, you are still getting a really high quality pattern. Another silver lining, it could be, it does give you that final push you need to start learning how to draft and modify other basic patterns for what you need. It might encourage more learning, which I think is always fantastic. And it might encourage you then to spend a little bit of money on, say, some lower cost patterns from indie companies, where if they don't offer a free pattern, they may offer like a heavily discounted pattern for you to try. So they're still making a little bit of money and then you're getting a heavily discounted pattern. So that might encourage you then to spend some money, because maybe that was a really good free pattern you really liked, you missed out, but there's another company that offer it for really low cost. And it may encourage more of a secondhand market with physical sewing patterns. You may be able to get some patterns from your library that are attached to books, that sort of thing, and swapping between friends, right? Like, okay, this pattern's not for me anymore, would you like it? That may be encouraged that way. Because I know a lot of us have patterns printed that we can then be like, actually, I never actually got around to cutting this out. I don't need it anymore. So do you think companies are justified in charging for patterns that were previously free without anything extra now being included? So you can look at the fabric store reviews. I won't link them here, but you know, they have been criticized quite heavily for not having the best fitting patterns, right? They don't have the best instructions. It's like blog posts. A lot of it is sort of left to your own devices. Even if you're reading the instructions, again, not the most accessible. And if we are paying, what is your minimum expectation for quality? What do you expect from a sewing pattern if you've purchased it? I'm still learning about what my expectations are. I sort of know what they're not, though, when I've come and hit like walls and barriers when I've been making stuff of my own. And yeah, that kind of wraps that up. Make sure you download your free patterns when you see them, right? I think this is the moral of this story. Download them. And if you are then looking at indie designers, make sure if you never tried them before, try out their free pattern. Also steer away from stuff that looks like it's AI generated on the Etsy platform. You know what I'm talking about. What I like about indie designers is they usually use a wide range of bodies of people, and their patterns, they go into more detail. They go that little bit step further. They want you to buy their patterns, and you know, I want to buy your patterns. So yeah, let me know what you think and let's have a discussion around this topic. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any other topics you would like me to sort of delve into, discuss, let me know. These kind of things kind of do scare me because, you know, I try and keep my online space very positive. Even when I show you all the mistakes that I make, it's to show, like, to help other people feel better about making mistakes. So yeah, let me know and we'll see if we can have a chat, right? That's all we can do. I hope you're going to have a very good day or evening.